Have you ever wondered what truly keeps a relationship alive, not just physically, but emotionally and even spiritually? What if I told you that the secret to a longer, healthier life might not be found in a prescription bottle, but in the way you touch, connect, and love? Science is finally catching up to what many couples have felt for years, that true intimacy, built on trust and emotional connection, can do more than bring you closer. It can boost your immune system, protect your heart, sharpen your memory, and even help you live longer. And yet most of us grow up only hearing half the story. We're taught the mechanics, the taboos, the fears, but not the deeper truth, that your pleasure matters, that your body is still worthy of touch, exploration, and joy, whether you're 25 or 75. Today we're going to uncover some of the most surprising, empowering, and science-backed truths about sexual wellness, emotional intimacy, and how desire evolves with age. Whether you're rediscovering passion in your relationship or learning to love your body again after years of silence, this isn't just a video. This is your permission to feel, to ask, to explore. Because when we stop treating intimacy like a secret, we finally start living fully, honestly, and together. Are you ready? Let's begin. For years, we've separated sexual health from general health, as if one belongs in the doctor's office and the other behind closed doors. But science tells a different story. Your sexual well-being is not just a part of life, it's a reflection of your overall vitality. Take this in. Regular, satisfying intimacy has been linked to a stronger immune system, lower risk of heart disease, better sleep, and even improved memory. Why? Because sex isn't just about the physical. It's a cascade of physiological responses. The heart beats faster, blood vessels dilate, hormones like oxytocin and dopamine surge, reducing cortisol and stress. And yes, it's true, women who experience regular orgasms often report reduced menstrual pain, better mood regulation, and even increased pain tolerance. For men, healthy sexual function is often an early indicator of good cardiovascular health. But let's go deeper. Research also shows that the emotional safety created during loving intimacy can trigger long-term improvements in nervous system function. In other words, when you feel safe, desired, and seen, your whole body responds positively. That's why the idea that sex is just for the young is not only wrong, it's harmful. In fact, studies show that older adults who maintain some form of intimate connection, whether partnered or solo, are more likely to report higher life satisfaction, fewer doctor visits, and longer life expectancy. It doesn't have to be about performance, it's about presence, about the little moments, holding hands, skin against skin, slow breathing in sync. These are the rituals that keep your body vibrant and your mind clear. Because in truth, sexual wellness is about more than sex. It's about confidence in your own skin, curiosity about your partner, the courage to say what you need. It's about connection, joy, trust. So if you've been wondering whether it's too late or not appropriate to care about this part of your life, here's the truth. It's never too late. You are not too old, too tired, or too far gone. Your desire is not shameful. Your pleasure is not optional. Sexual wellness is health wellness. And when you embrace that truth, you give your entire body, your heart, your brain, your hormones, the message that you are still alive, still worthy, and still capable of joy. Now let's look at how that joy is expressed in real ways. Through surprising science, emotional intelligence, and rediscovering what intimacy can look like at any age. Desire may begin in the mind, but its effects ripple through the entire body. When you feel aroused, whether from a touch, a thought, or even an emotional connection, your brain lights up like a fireworks display. Regions tied to memory, reward, and emotion all activate in unison, but it doesn't stop there. Your heartbeat picks up, blood flow increases, not only to your intimate areas, but also to your skin, your lungs, your brain. Hormones like dopamine, oxytocin, and endorphins flood your system, reducing pain. Here's something you might not know. These chemical changes also support long-term health. Oxytocin lowers cortisol, the stress hormone that, when chronically elevated, can accelerate aging and damage the immune system. Dopamine supports motivation and mental clarity. Even testosterone and estrogen, which decline with age, can rise briefly after sexual arousal, supporting bone density, mood, and energy. Now, let's talk about what this means for aging adults. Too often, the narrative suggests that aging brings a decline in desire, but many older adults report that their interest in intimacy doesn't disappear, it just becomes more nuanced. What changes is not the desire itself, but the context around it. Energy levels, body image, hormonal shifts, past experiences, and relationship dynamics. The good news? The body still knows how to respond. In fact, researchers at the University of Chicago found that nearly 70% of adults aged 65 and 80 remain sexually active, and those who do report better overall health and higher life satisfaction than their less active peers. The key isn't youth, it's comfort, confidence, and communication. And for those navigating health conditions like menopause, ED, or chronic illness, desire doesn't vanish, it adapts. Intimacy becomes less about performance, more about presence, less about fireworks, more about warmth, closeness, and shared joy. The truth is, your body still wants to connect. It just needs a little more intention, a slower rhythm, a gentler invitation. So if you've felt that spark lately, even if it's just a whisper, don't ignore it. That's your body reminding you that you're still vibrant, still human, still deserving of pleasure. Desire is not a luxury. It's a biological signal, a powerful messenger. And when you listen to it with care and curiosity, it becomes a guide not just to physical intimacy, but to emotional vitality and lifelong health. Most people don't realize just how powerful a role intimacy plays in whole body wellness, especially after the age of 60. We often talk about diet, exercise, and sleep as the pillars of healthy aging. But what if pleasure, connection, and touch were just as important? Science says they are. In fact, having regular physical intimacy, even once a week, has been linked to lower risk of heart disease, better immune response, and even improved brain function in older adults. Let's break that down. First, your heart. During intimacy, your heart rate increases in a way similar to light exercise. Blood vessels expand, circulation improves, and over time, this kind of healthy stimulation supports stronger cardiovascular function. A 2016 study in the Journal of Health and Social Behavior found that sexually active older men had better blood pressure and healthier resting heart rates than those who were not. Second, your immune system. Oxytocin, released during physical touch and orgasm, doesn't just make you feel close, it also helps regulate immune response. And dopamine, the feel-good chemical, plays a role in defending your body against inflammation and stress damage. Then there's your brain. Research from Coventry University in the UK discovered that older adults who engaged in regular intimacy scored higher on memory and language tests. Why? Because sexual activity boosts blood flow to the brain, stimulating regions involved in decision-making, emotion, and creativity. But the benefits don't end with biology. There's an emotional power to intimacy that's often overlooked. For those who are widowed, divorced, or facing health challenges, touch can be healing. It offers grounding, comfort, and even relief from loneliness. Physical affection, whether it's holding hands, cuddling, or kissing, has been shown to reduce symptoms of anxiety and depression in older adults. Let's not forget hormones. As we age, levels of estrogen and testosterone decrease, but during moments of sexual arousal or climax, these hormones rise temporarily, supporting mood, skin elasticity, and even joint health. Some researchers call this a natural hormone boost for seniors who are otherwise losing those protective compounds. And here's the most inspiring part. You don't need a perfect body, perfect timing, or even a partner to benefit. Whether you're sharing moments of closeness with someone you love or exploring your own desires through solo intimacy, the health effects are real and measurable. So if you've ever felt guilty or shy about wanting intimacy at this stage in life, let that go. Your body was designed for touch. Your brain thrives on connection. And your heart, both the emotional one and the physical one, beats stronger when it's loved. One of the most overlooked truths about intimacy in later life is this: emotional connection doesn't fade, it deepens. And when it does, it can elevate physical closeness to a whole new level of meaning and satisfaction. You see, in our younger years, intimacy can often be fueled by curiosity, novelty, or even ego. But after 60, something shifts. It becomes more intentional, more vulnerable, and far more rewarding. And that's because as we age, we tend to value presence over performance. And what research continues to confirm is that physical satisfaction improves dramatically when emotional safety, trust, and affection are present. In fact, studies show that older couples in committed relationships tend to report higher sexual satisfaction than they did in their younger years, even if frequency changes. Why? Because with emotional intimacy comes permission. Permission to slow down, to speak up, to explore what truly feels good without shame or pressure. Let's take a moment to talk about oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It's released during For older adults, emotional connection can also be healing. Many people over 60 have experienced loss, heartbreak, or long stretches without affection. So when intimacy returns, especially in the form of loving connection, it's not just about the body, it's about being seen again. It's about being touched in ways that say, you matter, you are beautiful, you are safe. Even simple acts like cuddling after a long day, slow dancing in the kitchen, or whispering kind words before sleep can reignite the spark. These are not small gestures. They're the fuel for emotional and sexual resilience. And for those who feel disconnected from their partners, the path back doesn't have to be complex. Sometimes it starts with a question: how are you feeling lately? What can I do to help you feel closer to me? Because the truth is, emotional intimacy isn't reserved for new lovers. It's a lifelong skill, and it's one of the most powerful ways to make physical intimacy more fulfilling at any age. So if you've ever wondered whether connection matters more than technique, here's your answer. It does. And when emotional safety meets physical desire, what you get is not just intimacy, you get peace, you get pleasure, and you get partnership, stronger, deeper, and more meaningful than ever before. For decades, women's pleasure has been misunderstood, oversimplified, or worse, ignored altogether. But what we now know through science and real conversation is this: every woman's path to satisfaction is uniquely hers, and honoring that truth is not just empowering, it's essential. Let's begin with the anatomy. The clitoris, often underestimated, holds over 8,000 nerve endings. That's twice as many as the penis. And yet, many people still believe that penetration alone leads to orgasm. The reality? Only around 18% of women achieve climax through penetration by itself. The rest require different forms of stimulation, especially focused on the clitoris, the G-spot, or even the nipples. And here's something even more fascinating. About 1% of women can experience orgasm from nipple stimulation alone. For others, light pressure on the cervix or gentle rhythmic movement at the vaginal entrance offers the most pleasure. It's not about one method being right, it's about learning what's right for her. Because women's pleasure isn't mechanical, it's relational, it's emotional, and it's deeply tied to the environment, the trust in the moment, and the feeling of being truly desired. For older women especially, this truth becomes even more important. As hormone levels shift and bodies change, so do sensitivities, preferences, and rhythms. What felt good at 30 may no longer be enough at 65. And that's not a problem. It's an invitation to evolve, to rediscover, and to reconnect with oneself and with a partner. Now, let's talk about communication. Many women report never having had a single conversation about what really brings them pleasure, not with their first partner, not even with their current one. And yet, this silence is often the greatest barrier to intimacy. When a woman feels safe enough to say, "This is what I love," or "Please go slower," or "That feels amazing," everything changes. And when a partner listens, not with ego, but with curiosity, that trust deepens. And so does the pleasure. So here's the truth that often goes unspoken. Women don't lose the ability to enjoy sex as they age. They lose the opportunity to enjoy it in ways that truly honor their needs. But it's never too late to ask, to explore, and to start again. Whether you're 35 or 75, your body still holds wisdom, your pleasure still matters, and you still deserve to be known, fully, tenderly, and without apology. Pleasure isn't about youth, it's about presence. And every woman deserves to feel that kind of presence in her body and in her relationships. Especially now, it's easy to think of intimacy as something physical. A touch, a kiss, a shared moment in bed. But ask anyone who's loved deeply, and they'll tell you the most unforgettable closeness doesn't begin with the body. It begins with the heart. Emotional connection is the quiet force that transforms sex into something far more powerful. It's not just about desire. It's about safety, about being fully seen, heard, and accepted. For women, especially as they age, this kind of emotional intimacy becomes the very foundation of pleasure. Research shows that women in committed, emotionally fulfilling relationships report more frequent and satisfying orgasms than those in casual encounters. Why? Because the brain is the most important sexual organ. When a woman feels emotionally close to her partner, her body relaxes, her guard drops, and in that space of trust, pleasure flows more freely. Let's go deeper. After sex, the body releases oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone. It softens the nervous system, deepens emotional trust, and creates a feeling of closeness that lingers long after the moment ends. In loving partnerships, this hormone acts like glue. It reinforces the connection, the tenderness, and the feeling of us. That's why a gentle kiss on the forehead, a whispered word of appreciation, or simply holding hands after intimacy can mean more than any grand romantic gesture. It's the small things that build emotional safety. But emotional connection doesn't just happen, it's built through conversations, through vulnerability, through moments when you dare to say, "This is what I need," or "This is what I fear," or even, "I want more of this with you." For couples who've been together for decades, reigniting emotional intimacy is possible. Start with curiosity. Ask your partner what makes them feel loved today, not 5 years ago, not when you were younger, but now. Share a story you've never told them. Explore a fantasy together. Try holding each other for 5 minutes without saying a word, just breathing together. You might be surprised how much your body responds when your heart feels safe again. In the end, lasting passion isn't about chasing novelty, it's about deepening connection. It's not about doing more, it's about being more present, more honest, more emotionally engaged. And the truth is, emotional connection doesn't fade with time, it deepens, it matures, it becomes richer, wiser, and more meaningful. Because the most powerful kind of intimacy isn't just about touch, it's about being touched on the inside. When it comes to female pleasure, there is no universal formula, no perfect technique, no guaranteed sequence, because each woman's body is a landscape entirely her own, and the moment you try to map it like a textbook, you miss the real journey, discovery. Some women respond deeply to gentle neck kisses. Others light up with pressure near the hips, soft caresses on the thighs, or a slow build-up around the clitoris. Some prefer deep connection through the G-spot, while others feel nothing there at all. For a small percentage, nipple stimulation alone can lead to climax. For many, it's the combination of mental arousal and slow touch that finally opens the door. The point is, every woman's body sings a different song, and the only way to learn the tune is to listen. Science backs this up. MRI scans during female orgasm show that no two women's brains activate in quite the same way. The pathways to climax are as individual as fingerprints. And yet, so often, we fall into patterns, assuming what worked once will work always, or that what worked for one partner must work for the next. But real pleasure, lasting transformative pleasure, begins with presence, with slowing down, with asking, "Do you like this?" and actually caring about the answer. It's in the willingness to try something new, to be playful, to not rush toward a goal, but to savor the unfolding. And perhaps most importantly, it's about trust. Because when a woman feels safe, emotionally, physically, spiritually, her body responds in ways that surprise even her. Her breath deepens, her skin becomes more alive, her pleasure expands, she stops performing and starts receiving. That's when magic happens. So if you're in a loving relationship or building one, make curiosity your love language. Touch without expectation. Compliment without agenda. Ask not just what turns you on, but what makes you feel seen. Be patient, be observant. Learn to hear the yes even before it's spoken, and honor the no the moment it's felt. Because pleasure isn't about mastery. It's about mindfulness. It's about realizing that every moment, every response, every sigh is a message, a guide, a new path. And if you follow it with care, with presence, respect, and wonder, you'll discover a truth that textbooks never teach. That pleasure is not a destination. It's a conversation. What makes the difference between good sex and unforgettable intimacy, between satisfaction that fades overnight and the kind that lingers for days? It's not technique, it's not frequency, it's connection. You see, our bodies may carry us into bed, but it's our emotions that take us deeper. Science has shown that when two people feel emotionally bonded, their physical experiences become exponentially more satisfying. Oxytocin, the so-called love hormone, is released during intimate touch, especially after orgasm. It creates feelings of trust, bonding, and peace. And when you're in love, oxytocin isn't just stronger, it lingers longer. That's why couples who share vulnerability, who laugh together, who resolve conflict gently, often report higher levels of sexual satisfaction than those who focus solely on performance or variety. It's not the novelty that keeps passion alive, it's the emotional safety. Think of it this way: when your partner knows you'll still hold them, even in their awkwardness, their fears, or their insecurities, that's when they let go. That's when they become more open, more expressive, more curious. And that's when sex becomes something else entirely. It becomes a language, a place where love is spoken without words. In long-term relationships, it's easy to let routine take over, to think that what once worked will always be enough. But emotional intimacy needs just as much tending as physical desire. Touch without presence eventually feels hollow. Words without warmth lose meaning. So how do you build emotional connection that supports sexual vitality? Start with attention. Look your partner in the eyes. Listen, truly listen when they speak. Hold them for no reason at all. Next, create moments of shared vulnerability. Talk about fantasies, yes, but also about fears. Ask what they long for, what makes them feel beautiful, what they wish you knew. Then bring that intimacy into your physical life, not as pressure, but as permission. Let every kiss say, "You're safe with me." Let every embrace say, "I choose you again." Let every shared breath remind you, this body, this moment is sacred. Because the most powerful pleasure doesn't come from novelty, it comes from depth, from knowing someone so fully and being known in return. So if you want to reignite your intimacy, don't start in the bedroom. Start with the heart. That's where the real fire lives. Desire isn't one size fits all. It doesn't come from a textbook or follow a fixed formula. It evolves, just like we do. Over time, through life experiences, emotions, and self-discovery, what excites us changes. And embracing that truth is the beginning of a deeper, more fulfilling love life. Sexual fantasies are not signs of something wrong. They're windows into our imagination. For some, it's the thrill of being desired. For others, it's the craving for tenderness, mystery, adventure, or even complete surrender. Fantasies allow us to explore versions of ourselves we might never act out in reality, but still long to understand. And here's something beautiful. Sharing your fantasies with a trusted partner doesn't weaken intimacy, it strengthens it. It opens the door to curiosity, honesty, and mutual growth. It says, "This is a part of me. Will you meet me here?" Whether it's a sensual kiss on the neck that sends chills down the spine, or the quiet excitement of a whispered secret in the dark. What matters isn't how wild a fantasy is, it's how deeply it connects you to yourself and your partner. Take this surprising truth: nearly 1 in 10 women can experience orgasm purely from nipple stimulation. Others find their most powerful pleasure not in penetration, but in the soft, shallow rhythm near the entrance, where the G-spot can be gently awakened. Meanwhile, some women feel aroused just by being kissed softly while they sleep. These moments may seem small, but they're unforgettable. Why? Because they're personal, they're intimate. They speak directly to the nervous system, not through force, but through attunement. And for men too, this is true. Emotional security, physical grooming, feeling seen and respected. It all feeds into the loop of arousal and confidence. A man who feels appreciated outside the bedroom often performs better inside it. Here's the truth we rarely say aloud: your pleasure is allowed to change. What excited you at 25 might not be the same at 55, and that's not a problem, it's an invitation. Don't be afraid to explore new kinds of touch. Don't shy away from trying new positions, new textures, or new rhythms. Your partner's body is not a puzzle to solve once. It's a landscape to explore again and again. Pleasure is not a destination, it's a lifelong conversation, and the couples who keep having that conversation with kindness, curiosity, and respect are the ones who stay close, even when everything else changes. Physical connection without emotional safety is like music with no melody. It might make noise, but it doesn't move you. For most women, and many men too, true intimacy doesn't begin in the body. It begins in the mind, in the heart, in how safe they feel in your presence. Emotional safety isn't about being perfect, it's about being consistent, attentive, present. It's the space where someone knows they can speak without being judged, where they can express a need without feeling like a burden, where they're not performing, but simply being. And when that emotional trust is built, desire doesn't have to be forced. It rises naturally. That's why the best lovers aren't always the most experienced. They're the most aware. They listen, they ask. They watch for the subtle cues, the softening of breath, the way a hand reaches out for closeness, the quiet sigh of contentment. They don't rush, they don't assume, they co-create. Emotional intimacy is also about feeling chosen. Not out of habit, not out of obligation, but with intention. When a partner is fully present, when their touch says, "I see you," when their eyes say, "I still want you," it awakens something far deeper than arousal. It stirs the soul. And let's not forget the power of small moments. A gentle forehead kiss, a warm compliment out of nowhere, a message in the middle of the day that simply says, "I miss you." These are not grand gestures, but they are unforgettable because they say you matter. And when someone feels like they matter, their body naturally opens in trust and pleasure. Studies have shown that women in emotionally safe relationships report more frequent and satisfying orgasms, greater interest in sex, and stronger relationship satisfaction overall. Why? Because their nervous system is not in defense mode. They're not bracing, they're relaxing. And that's where pleasure lives, in the absence of fear. So if you want to build a lasting, fulfilling, intimate connection, start with safety. Ask yourself, do they feel heard when they speak? Do they feel seen in their vulnerability? Do they feel accepted, especially when they're not perfect? Because the body is wise. It knows when it's being respected. And when it feels that respect, when it feels emotionally held, it responds with joy, with connection, and with deep, lasting intimacy. Where there is safety, there is surrender. Where there is surrender, love becomes unforgettable. So now you've heard the facts, you've seen the numbers, you've explored the desires, the misunderstandings, and the incredible truths hidden inside something most people are too shy to talk about. But take a moment right now, pause, and ask yourself this. What does it all really mean? Because this isn't just a list of fascinating facts. It's a mirror, a reflection of the complexity, the depth, and the power of your own humanity, the sensations, the emotions, the stories locked inside every touch, every whisper, every heartbeat, shared with another. This isn't just about sex. It's about connection. It's about what it means to be alive. Behind every study, every nerve ending, every breathless kiss, there is something far greater. There is vulnerability, there is healing, there is the longing to be seen, heard, felt, and loved. Too often we reduce intimacy to a function, a performance, a taboo. But in reality, it's the one language we all carry without words. It speaks before we do. And when done with care, it opens doors we never knew were closed. You now know that oxytocin, the bonding hormone, makes you trust. You now know that regular physical intimacy can reduce heart disease. You now know that for many women, emotional connection is the key to pleasure. And for men, it can be the difference between a body that performs and a body that feels. And maybe more importantly, you now know you're not broken. You're not strange. You're human. And your desires, your need for closeness, curiosity, tenderness, they're not shameful. They're sacred. It's not about being perfect. It's about being open to learning, to growing, to exploring yourself and your partner with patience, playfulness, and trust. Because whether you're 25 or 75, you never stop deserving joy. You never outgrow the power of touch, and you never lose the right to be seen as someone worthy of love in every form. So let this be the beginning, not the end. Let this knowledge awaken something in you, something soft, something wild, something free, because this isn't just about better sex. It's about a better you. If you've made it this far, thank you. Thank you for your curiosity. Thank you for your openness. And thank you for being brave enough to explore something most people never dare to talk about. Because this conversation, it matters. Not just for pleasure, but for healing, for connection, for life. Maybe today you learned something that surprised you. Maybe something challenged the way you think. Or maybe for the first time in a long time, you felt seen. Wherever you are on your journey, single, married, exploring, healing, know this. You are not alone. Your body is not wrong. And your desire for closeness, for touch, for understanding, that desire is not only normal, it's deeply human. So let this be a reminder to listen to your body, to talk to your partner, to slow down and explore, not just how to please, but how to connect. Because a good life isn't built on silence. It's built on courage. Courage to ask, to feel, to love, and to learn again and again. So if this video opens something in you, even just a little, please share it with someone who needs to hear this message. A friend, a partner, a loved one, someone who deserves to know They are still worthy, still beautiful, still capable of pleasure, of passion, of profound connection at any age. And if you'd like more content like this, gentle, honest, and grounded in real research, click the subscribe button and turn on the bell. We're here every week with new conversations to support your health, your heart, and your human journey. Until next time, be kind to yourself, be curious with each other, and remember, you are never too old to feel deeply alive. This is Wisdom After Dark, where real conversations begin.